Yep, made it. Episode 200. That is 200. And I am joined by a very special guest. Very special.
Welcome to the Small Business Big Marketing Show, where successful small business owners share their secrets to take your marketing to the next level. Now here's your host, Tim Reid.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I am your host, Timbo Reid. But you, so much more importantly, are a motivated small business owner ready to crank out some great marketing. And that is exactly how we roll around here. Hey, team, very, very big show for you today. And it is going to take, by the way, as long as it needs to. Let me tell you what we are going to cover. Number 1, insert drum roll, surprise guest with some very special needs. Number 2, I am going to have a quick reflection, or we are going to have a quick reflection on the first 200 episodes, talking about what makes things popular, why you might be seeing me on your Facebook feed. As I said, dedication to Robin Williams. Got a new sponsor kind of announcement or pre-announcement. Excited about that. Talking about virtual marketing teams and plenty more. So, I would suggest grab a notepad, a pen, and whatever tickles your fancy and strap right on in. Lukey!
Timbo, how are you, mate?
Goodness me. I haven't done that for 120 episodes.
Yeah, a bit over 2 years. I think episode 80 was our last episode together, Timbo, and it's nice to hear that again.
Is it?
It is, yeah.
Did it bring a
tear to a glass eye? Yes.
I knew it would. There'll be some listeners, Lukey, out there who were part of those first 80 episodes who know who you are. But for those who don't, which I'm hoping is kind of the majority, because, hopefully the show's growing.
Because it's been 120 episodes since I was on.
Correct. Yeah. Like, who the hell are you, mate?
Well, funnily enough, I helped you founder Small Business Big Marketing back at show number 1. I left at show 80, but I'm essentially an online marketer, Timbo, for the listeners who haven't heard me before. E-commerce.
Online marketing. That sounds smutty. It's a bit dirty. Wash your mouth out.
It's a bit too vague. E-commerce is really my specialty.
Right.
So in the last 2 years since I left you, Timbo, apart from moving down the coast and having a young family...
Yeah, correct.
I've
getting a full-time job, working for the man.
Working for the man. I've certainly been immersed in a company that does the majority of its sales online.
Right.
So I've been very fortunate to work in a business that is doing what I guess I'm passionate about, which is e-commerce.
Yeah, I love it, mate. Well, it is lovely to have you back in the warm... I was going to say the warm waters, but the warm walls of the Small Business Big Marketing HQ,
it's
mate.
Good to be here, mate. And I am very much honoured to be asked to join you on the 200th episode. I think also, on behalf of your listeners, I'd like to congratulate you on 200 episodes. You've had some very high calibre guests.
Oh, here we go.
Frankly, I'm chuffed to be on here at number 200 with you, Timbo.
Well, mate, I went through the list and I got to number 15. It was like, hey, Lukey, what are you doing Friday? Can you help me out? Not true at all. You're my first selection, and it is a pleasure to have you back.
Thank you, mate.
You haven't grown.
No, just in the wrong direction.
Listeners, we are standing at my stand-up workstation in my home office, and we somehow get a photo. Maybe if one of my boys get home in time, we can get a photo and put it in the show notes, because we look a bit like twins, mate. It's like Schwarzenegger and DeVito.
Timbo's 6'3", and I'm 6'4", sorry.
And you're 5'4". Are you?
Close.
Hey, now, Lukey, I thought what would be really interesting. We've got heaps to cover, like so much to cover. But I thought it'd be really interesting for you to, because you've been the bleeding edge, the cutting edge of what's been going on in the online marketing world, to share some of the things that have changed in the 2 years since you've been on this show. Now, the intention here, listeners, is to give you a very quick snapshot of what's been going on. It may well also scare the pants off you. That's not the intent, is it, Luke?
No, it's not at all.
Because this show's about embracing the change that is small business marketing.
It is. I think there's some really exciting opportunities for small business. 2 years ago, Timbo, I think we had Jen Shan on, who was talking about Facebook ads. It's something I probably didn't give much love to at that stage, but I think things have really changed. I was just showing you some figures before, Timbo. about how some of the ads that I'm doing on Facebook are performing. And, you can get sort of 15, 16 cent clicks now with Facebook, and that's just unheard of if you're using Google AdWords. And click-through rates are huge. So
they were the old days of pay-per-click advertising, weren't they?
They were. So the old days are back. And just an example.
Why are they back? What's happened?
Well, it's one of the main things that Facebook has done is that they used to just have their ads on the right-hand side if you're looking at the desktop. So that's one thing. You're getting much better click-through rates, much better visibility now that Facebook ads are actually in people's news feeds. Two, people are using mobile devices a lot more. What I'm actually seeing with Facebook ads are the main source of traffic is actually coming from mobile devices.
Yeah.
Now that's interesting. It just means that you're not necessarily going to make a sale directly out of someone seeing your ad, but you can certainly generate a lead from that, and you can start communicating with your audience, which is a powerful thing.
And it was all about Facebook getting those ads into the news feed, because if they're not in the news feed, then you're not going to see them on the mobile device, because sitting off to the right was kind of they were lost, and as more and more people consumed their information through smaller screens, they had to get their kind of the ads into the timeline.
That's right. So you combine that with the powerful demographic targeting that you can do through Facebook ads. I'll give you an example. A client of mine.
You love this stuff.
I do.
Listeners, you got to laugh.
Geek out.
Yeah. Lukey is just he's up and about in the commentary position right now. But the reality is, Lukey loves to get under the hood, don't you?
I do.
You got the sleeves rolled up. You're like a marketing grease monkey, where you're about to just get under the hood. Leave me alone. Just pass me the tools.
Just want to give you a quick example. So
remember to breathe.
So I'm helping essentially a venue out with doing some ads. They want to book out weddings into 2015.
Yep.
So with Facebook, that venue can actually target, for example, women over the age of 18 who are engaged, who live within a 50-kilometre radius of that actual venue.
Wow. How powerful is that?
So that's the kind of power you have with Facebook ads. Combine that with mobile devices and getting that ad into a news feed, and I think it's a really powerful medium, much more powerful than what it ever has been before. So,
Lukey,
Timbo,
you a bit nervous?
Oh, a little bit. It's been a while since I've done this.
Your voice is quivering. It's worrying me a little bit.
Breathe.
Listen, we're just going to have a little moment here. This is what I do before I go on stage. 7 really, really deep breaths.
Yeah.
And apparently what it does, it oxygenates your brain, and you can't forget stuff. And it kind of relaxes you too.
Yeah. Look, I think, that big lunch that we had.
Yeah, it was pretty good, wasn't it? And the other thing I do, you can't see this because it's kind of visual, but I do this. So, listeners, I'm punching myself in kind of the sternum or just above in the chest. And I don't know what that does. It's something about gives you this kind of, helps your voice out.
Tarzan feeling.
Yeah. Looks weird. I got busted doing it before I went on stage last week. Anyway, we digress.
Nice.
That's interesting, mate. And, so Facebook ads, mobile, just responsive websites, mobile advertising.
Yeah, I think finally people are realising how pervasive mobile is. Everyone's got a mobile phone in their pocket. Now, whenever you get a website redesigned, people are making sure, hopefully starting to make sure that it's mobile friendly, that it's responsive. And that is really important. I'm sort of starting to see some websites now that 30% of their traffic is coming from mobile devices, which is significant. And that's not...
And that's with a bullet. That's only going to go up. Luke.
That's right. That's only going to go up. And that's not including tablet devices. That's just smartphones.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you factor in tablet. I mean, that's going to be over half of traffic, surely.
Yeah, but, tablet is still a similar viewing experience to a desktop, so I don't think it's as important to be optimising for tablet. But definitely for smartphones where you've got a smaller viewing area, there's some cool things that you can do with smartphones. You can make phone numbers clickable on websites. So when someone clicks on a telephone number, the phone rings it.
Yep.
So there's some cool stuff like that.
Give me one more thing that's changed.
I know you
got heaps, but mate, we've got so much to cover, and people are driving to work, Luke, or they're at the gym, or they're on the train, so they just don't. They haven't got the 4 hours that we need.
Okay, all right. It's hard to pick. Conversion rate optimisation, I guess it's the new black.
Oh, sorry.
Look,
I know, it's important.
It is important. It's like, we were talking about earlier, building lists.
The new black.
If you can get 10% of people that are visiting, 10% more of people who are visiting your website to buy or to sign up to an email list, I think that's pretty significant to some people. So
So what's your point there? Like, has it become easier, or is it's always been important?
I think it's certainly become easier. There's certainly a lot of tools around now, Optimizely, Unbounce, and it means that you don't need to get, I guess, a code monkey to design multiple versions of a page. There's drag and drop interfaces that you can do to that. Look, I'd only recommend it if your website's getting a lot of traffic. Otherwise, it's probably going to be a waste of time, or you'll take a long, long time to get a decisive result. One more thing, Timbo.
Oh, all right.
We were talking earlier about SEO. There's been a lot of changes in Google's algorithm. There's some people pulling their hair out about this, but I think it's a wonderful thing for small businesses who are in it for the long run.
Couldn't agree more.
You're always banging on about content marketing, which is absolutely
helpful marketing.
Helpful marketing. And if for the small business person who wants to go out there and create helpful content for their target audience, Google's only going to reward that. So.
Mate, honestly, but you could complicate it, couldn't you? I mean, the algorithm is complicated. You and I aren't going to stand here and go, we understand we know the full extent of the algorithm, and I understand it gets updated 1.5 times a day. So, like, let's put aside the intricacies of it, as much as you would love to just get under that hood, Lukey. Oh, hey? That would be like just going to a boys-only night, wouldn't it, for you? Just, here we go, boys. Algorithm, look out. But the reality is, if Google just, and I said this on a recent episode, be helpful, make the internet interesting, bring more people to it, and have them stay longer as a website owner, and Google are going to reward you.
Absolutely.
It's actually not brain surgery when you look at it that way.
No.
Yes, there's stuff you can do with metadata. Yes, there's stuff you can do with backlinking and all the other terms and acronyms we could pull out. But for the small business owner listening to this show, be helpful.
Yep. And I think you're one of your last guests, not your last guest, but a couple of shows ago, Ms. Maker.
Melissa Maker.
She's a perfect example of that.
Clean my space. Nailing it. Just being helpful.
Yeah.
And as a result, wacky stuff happens, Lukey.
Indeed it does. Timbo?
Oh, me mate, it is wonderful to have you back.
Wonderful to be here.
So, here's the thing, Lukey.
Yes, Timbo?
This show would not have got to 200 episodes without our old mates at Net Registry. That's the truth.
It is. And, in fact, I think you brought them on as a sponsor...
Just after you left.
Yeah, just after I left.
Yeah. I turned the show into being a cash flow positive venture. And once I got rid of the ball and chain, that was Luke Moulton. Not true. But, we spent a fair bit of time looking for a sponsor in those early days.
Yeah.
And looking for the right sponsor, not just a sponsor. A right sponsor being good people. And a sponsor that was relevant to the audience. So, and I'd knocked back a few that were wanting to get in front of small businesses but weren't all about marketing. So, in walked Net Registry.
Yellow Pages?
Yeah. Gee, I wanted them. Hey, such great help to the small business owner.
I think it's obviously a testament to the quality of the show, Timbo, that 118 episodes later, the Net Registry is still with you.
Correct. So, team, they do support the show. Net Registry, they get your online marketing sorted, domain names, website hosting, website design and development, SEO, search engine optimization, pay-per-click advertising, all that stuff that Lukey loves getting under the hood of, Net Registry can actually make happen. And Lukey, small business owners, busy little beings we are. We don't have time to do everything. And I get the cash flow thing, but if you can afford to outsource something to someone and allow you to focus on the business of your business or the business of creating some helpful content, that's a good thing. Let someone else do the rest. And that's what Net Registry are good at.
Couldn't agree more, Timbo.
Good, mate. So, team, head over to netregistry.com.au and tell them Timbo sent you. Now, me matey, I don't want to put a downer on this wonderful time where you are back in the Small Business Big Marketing studio, but, mate, I was so sad to see the passing of Robin Williams this week.
As well, I always a very big fan.
Yeah, and funny, well, I'll use the word funny because he was a funny guy. The funny thing was I mentioned him in last week's episode, which went out on Tuesday this week, which was the day he passed away, which for me was kind of a bit wacky, a bit woo-woo. I got an email from a guest who'd previously heard me talk about the fact that, not a guest, from a listener who, I love Professor John Hughes, so Robin Williams' character in Dead Poets Society.
Yeah.
Man, influence. I talk about Jamie Oliver influencing me and my personal brand. Professor John Hughes you know that moment where he rips the books up, he gets up on the table amongst the boys and he just says something like, you got to look at the world differently. Look at the world from up here. Rip up the books, throw away what you know and look at the world differently. And so sad to see Robin Williams pass, but for me, what it reminded me of, and I want to do this in an elegant way without kind of going, oh, there's a marketing lesson there, but there's not enough characters in business. That's what I reckon. He was a character. He stood out. He said, I'm different. And he was himself. And I reflect on times back when I worked in corporate. There were guys like, I worked with this copywriter guy, Hank Dawson. Now, the late Hank Dawson. Just a crazy, crazy copywriter. Was always himself. Funny guy. Didn't care what others thought. And I just, Richard Branson's like that.
Yeah. Yeah, John McEnroe.
Johnny McEnroe.
Look at sport.
The kid.
Yeah. I think you're right. And people want that. They want something different. I mean, and Robin Williams did it fantastically, and it is very, very sad that he's passed.
So I think, we can all take something from Robin Williams' life in business, and that is the fact that he was willing to be himself, that he stood for something. He was a funny guy. He put a smile on people's dials, and I think there's a point of difference in business owners choosing to do that. I'm not sure I've got my point across as much as I kind of feel, but can I say, and this sounds weird, sitting on the plane coming back from Adelaide on Tuesday, I had a tear in my eye because I just got the news coming through on a Facebook feed, and we were about to take off. I was nearly about to turn my phone off, and the hostie came up. She asked if I was all right. I said, "Oh, yeah, I am. It's just I'm quite sad about Robin Williams passing." So she said, "Yeah, who isn't?" So. Mate, not enough characters in the world. Was there a character in your world that kind of, you mentioned McEnroe, anyone kind of...
Look, I was always a big fan of Robin Williams. So, look, in terms of comedians?
No, not necessarily, just people out there in business, particularly in business. Like, I tell you what, Tom Dixon from Willett Blend, who we'll touch on again at some point during this episode... previous guest of this show, he was a character. He's a crazy guy.
Yeah.
He has a blend company. He makes blenders. He's an engineer, and he's off creating this one of the most viral videos in the world with the Willett Blend series. Got to have more characters. We've got to have more fun in business.
Yeah.
Bloody serious out there, Luke.
It is. I could probably... some people on Australian TV, which I really enjoy watching. Charlie Pickering, who I actually went to school with, I think, on the project. I really like his style. He studied law and ended up becoming a comedian, and now he's hosting a really high-rating show on one of the networks here in Australia. And I really like his style. Yeah. And I like the way he takes it to some of the people that come on the show. So
stick your head above the trench is the lesson there, Lukey. Indeed. And don't be scared to be noticed. Hey, listeners, if you are suffering from depression, anxiety, whatever those terrible mental illnesses may be, Lifeline on 131114. You can call, or you can visit Beyond Blue at beyondblue.org.au. RIP Robin Williams. Righto, Lucas. Reflections on the first 200 episodes. I don't want this to be navel-gazing at all. At all.
Yeah.
But there's always learnings to... one of the things, a really interesting thing I kind of just have been getting into recently is, like, I look back and I've got a whole lot of content sitting there in 200 episodes of podcast, lots of blog posts, just so much content. Going back and resharing that via Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+. I've been doing that because you don't want it sitting there, and there's a whole lot of people who haven't seen it.
A lot of it's evergreen.
Evergreen, absolutely. So been doing that, but it's also kind of occurred to me that, wow, this is just reminding me of some of the amazing stuff that has been shared by guests on the show.
Well, I mean, you're averaging, an hour a show these days? 40 minutes to...
40 to 60.
Yeah.
As long as it needs to be, not a second more.
There's at least 150 hours worth of content.
I know. Yeah. Isn't that unbelievable?
Take out your ramblings, about 100 hours.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You had a few.
Yeah, I did.
Goodness me, you had a few. Remember I used to get a caning from the odd listener who said I was a bit harsh on you. Hey? Do you remember that?
I do.
You wouldn't forget it.
I do, yeah.
Goodness me.
Lovely listeners that you have.
Oh, they were lovely to you. Very protective of little Lukey. Hey?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. But... mate, it's been an interesting ride and wonderful guests. Is anything stood out for you? Not that I imagine you have listened to all 200 episodes. Luke, have you listened to all 200 episodes?
I'll be honest, I haven't. But
why? Out of interest, what's the main problem there?
I don't know.
Yeah. Hashtag awkward moment.
I have been listening recently, as you can tell by referring to Ms. Maker.
Yes.
So, look, I do...
It's weird how you call her Miss Maker. Do you remember?
I can't remember her first name. Melissa Maker.
Yep.
Look, I'd say I tune in probably every fourth episode and have a listen. Look, mate, you've done a fantastic job. I think the quality is only continuing to improve.
Not navel gazing.
I think the most fun that we had was with Anne-Marie.
I knew you were going to say that.
Anne-Marie owns a adult book, not an adult bookshop,
an adult shop.
Adult shop in Adelaide.
A Door Alive.
You remember it well.
How could I forget that one, mate? We were like little kids, we were putty in Anne-Marine's hands.
So that was a lot of fun. I can't remember. It might have been around about episode 60 or so.
Well, we did that live at an event. We giggled often, which are fantastic. There was some marketing learnings there. But that was a good episode. I do reflect on that one as being a memorable one for fun reasons.
Yeah.
I looked back, the one that kind of, you left at episode 80, and in episode 81 I interviewed, I was nervous about episode 81. It was the first time I was literally sitting in front of a microphone by myself. So it was kind of like, for me, that was like, whoa, hang on, don't know if I can do this. Felt I wanted to do it, like I needed to continue it. But so I got a guy, my son Jack, he said, he was reading the newspaper, he said, Dad, you can go down to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean and check out the Titanic?
Ah, that's right.
And I've gone, no, Jack, I don't, but I need to interview the guy who can make that happen.
Yeah.
And anyway, very quick Google search, put me in touch with this guy, Steve Sim, at a company called Bluefish in LA.
Yep.
Now, Steve doesn't own the submarine that goes down the bottom, but he is the company that books the submarine to go down to the bottom of the Atlantic to visit the Titanic. So long story short, I did get Steve on the phone, and we did have an interview, and he was absolute gold.
He's sort of like this concierge for the stars almost.
Anything you wanted.
Anything you wanted.
The learning out of that episode was don't be afraid to ask for anything, and you'll be surprised what you may get. So basically he could get you down to look at the Titanic. He just organised that week for some rich guy to do the tango with Angelina Jolie at a Victoria's Secrets parade.
Oh.
It's like, thanks, I'll have one of those.
Worth every penny.
Yeah, correct. But that was, and he was just, yes, he was in LA, yes, he was connected. But anyway, that was a really interesting interview. That was episode 81. Team, if you wanted to go back and have a listen to that. Other ones? Were you going to ask me about other ones, Luke? Or are you just going to just stare at me lovingly, like, Goodness me.
What other ones, Timbo?
I'm glad you asked. Thank you.
Okay, I thought it was the guest.
I'm just going to say that. Here we go. Like, listeners, we're planning this episode, and I've got all my notes here, and it's like, so what do you reckon about this? Luke goes, oh, no, I'm just the guest. So honestly, that is the public servant mentality that I don't like. But I tolerate.
Then I asked for my writer.
Yeah. Writer or writer? You need both. You need a writer and a writer. And
elocution lessons.
What would be on your writer? Like, just being completely honest, you go, okay, I am a bit high maintenance. What do you really want? I'll give you an example. Yep. I'll let you think, because it's a question, like I just sprung it on you.
Yeah.
But now that I'm doing a lot of speaking, actually, and I hate saying this, but I say to people, because they do ask, is there anything particular you want? I say, look, I actually just want room temperature water on the stage with me. And that sounds weird, but the reality is two things. If you get a big ice jug of water, A, it's weird pouring and it goes everywhere when you're on stage and you're trying to talk and you're doing that. And cold water, chilled water, shrinks the larynx, affects your voice.
So you sound like you've been sucking on helium.
So there you go. That's on my rider.
Look, I'm happy with the rider you've provided with me today, Timbo.
What do you got?
It's a stubby of Little Creatures Pale Ale, one of Australia's finest.
One of Australia's finest. We're just sharing it, just half each. I'll use the straw.
Yeah, usually I wouldn't drink a beer at 7 a.m, but...
yeah, correct. That's interesting. That is interesting. Your rider's pretty... You're pretty easy.
Simple needs.
I reckon if you kind of did something on a permanent basis that allowed you to have a rider, you'd become a lot higher maintenance. I do.
Really?
Now, how do we get onto that?
I don't know.
Because
I was asking you, what other Great.
Yeah. So
guests have you had, Timbo? What are the learnings?
Interesting. Oh, mate, where do
Learnings.
Wow, learnings.
Okay, start with guests. What are the guests?
Well, it's interesting because I am doing a couple of workshops on Saturday and coming Monday that required me to go back through old episodes. And not looking for best episodes, but just looking for some particular learnings. I'm doing a workshop for one company that's spending a lot of money getting the phone to ring, and once they get the phone to ring, if they get that inquiry into the store, they've got a 90% chance of a sale.
Wow.
But they're finding it hard to get people into the store, right? So I've gone back through some old episodes looking for some gold. And I was just reflecting on people, not the best episodes that I've come across, but I was listening to Tom O'Toole from Beechworth Bakery, which actually was a pretty good episode. That was a very memorable episode. Another one that I listened to yesterday was Jim Penman from Jim's Mowing, who just had some wonderful... He said something like 98% of the marketing, quote unquote, 98% of his marketing starts the minute the phone rings. So you would have thought, oh, geez, I would have thought a lot of your marketing would be to get the phone ring, but no, that was 2%. And then he talks about offering a really good customer service experience once that phone has rung, and how he goes about doing that with systems and processes, and being, the less times the phone rings in terms of number of rings, the more likely you are of getting a sale. The quicker you call someone back, the quicker you're more chances you have of getting a sale, all those little things. I think one of the things that constantly amazes me is what people share. And I've got a lot of members inside the Small Business Big Marketing Forum who are starting podcasts now. And one of the greatest fears is that they're not going to be able to, A, find people to interview, or B, those people aren't going to share. And I just think, move on, get over it.
I think people love sharing. If someone's invited on as an expert, which invariably they are, then they're happy to share and share their expertise. And I think most people love sharing their expertise. Yeah,
I agree. And the idea of being interviewed, it's kind of an honour. People love the idea of being asked to be interviewed. So one other... you get me going on past episodes. First Kiss was amazing. That girl who created the most viral video in the world, Melissa... her name's Melissa Coker. And then one of my favourite episodes was Melissa Maker from Clean My Space, more recent episode. But the First Kiss story was amazing. Never intended to create something so viral, yet 80 million views later and counting. It is. And the last one I'll share is Tommy Nicolosi from a little cafe, a little sandwich shop in the Philadelphia train station who got awarded Best Sandwich of the Year in America.
Wow.
And by that, there's a show on Foxtel called Food Nation.
Yep.
And I interviewed old Tommy, Italian bloke, sounded like he was out of the mafia. Him and his son work there, and it was all about quality. It was all about adherence to the best quality product and the best service. And all he sold was a pork sandwich.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really important. I think a lot of people, particularly in hospitality, forget about the quality of the ingredients.
Oh, yeah.
And
do you mean just physical ingredients, or just quality of any ingredients into service?
I think it obviously goes into everything. The quality of how you do everything in your business, I think, is really important.
Sometimes I ran a workshop a few weeks ago about 1%ers for a client, and it was like the idea of just going that we do 99% of the business is just what we do. We take the order, we fulfill the order, we answer the phone, we answer questions, we do all that. But those little 1%ers that are the game changers are massive, and had so many examples. We might do a future episode on 1%ers because there's so many great examples, and they don't have to cost money.
When you were saying about Jim's Mowing before, I've been dealing with a real estate agent recently, and he has been absolutely amazing. Instant callbacks, calling you on and not unwanted, calling on a Sunday after hours, highly attentive, will spend plenty of time, almost too much time with you, and he's been absolutely amazing. And subsequently, the real estate agent chain that he works for, he's been given, this customer service award, I think, a couple of years in a row.
Little 1%ers. That's all it takes. The idea of just going above and beyond. There's a great example of a steakhouse in the States where a guy was hopping on a plane in one state of America, to put a tweet to his favourite steakhouse, would kill for I fill it with hollandaise sauce or whatever the special dish that he loved was, just jokingly. He landed at the airport where he was flying to, where the steakhouse was. They met him at the arrivals gate with a steak.
Wow, there you go.
And then that gets all this social media exposure, and you know what I call that, Lukey? You ready? Word of mouth. Hey, do you like that?
Nice. Is that your own?
Hey, I'll take that. Thank you.
It's nice.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. Very good.
That is it, mate. So, been a good 200. We're not going to reflect too much more. Listeners, go to the show notes for episode 200. Tell me what your favourite episode was, what you've learned. I keep saying it. There will be a book. There will be a book that pulls out all the learnings, and very kindly, some of my forum members have already started a Google document that they've shared their learnings from the show. So we are building it up. But, it's been a busy year. But the other thing, podcasting has changed my business life. So it has, when we started all those years ago, we didn't really... Why were we starting? I don't know. Why did you say yes to doing a podcast with me?
I thought it was an interesting idea. I think, podcast was still pretty fresh at the time. I thought it'd be an interesting way to actually get out there and talk to people about marketing, really. And that's what it's been. Certainly in the early days, there was a lot of learnings, I think, for the both of us in the people that we talked to. Yeah. And it continues to be an education because, I think that's what you continue to find fascinating about it is, you were saying before, coming across people that are doing these really novel forms of marketing that, the average punter might not have thought of, or we might not have even thought of before. No. And they're not necessarily the Richard Bransons. They're
not at all.
The little people in small business that are just doing highly effective targeted marketing, and that's what I loved about it.
It was amazing, wasn't it? Because we got the opportunity to, and older listeners will know this story, but we had the opportunity to use one of the radio stations in Melbourne, one of the biggest radio stations in Melbourne, their studio after hours, because a mate of mine was a producer there, and he said, yeah, by all means come in and use it, which we were very lucky to do. Doesn't mean you have to have a studio to start a podcast by any stretch of the imagination, but I think for the first, was it 40, 50, 60 episodes, we were able to invite people into this amazing radio studio, have a bloke behind the desk running the controls, and we're sitting up there like, two seasoned radio pros. Truth, we had no idea what we were doing.
No, but that ended up being quite a good hook to get some people
absolutely.
To be interviewed.
It really did. It kind of was a bit limiting too, because we felt as though we had to invite people into the studio. We kind of liked inviting people into the studio, but I don't think it was until we did a kettlebells. We interviewed the guys who brought invented kettlebells. They invent kettlebells?
No, they didn't invent them. They started. I think
they made them famous.
Yeah, they helped make them famous. I think Tim Ferriss certainly made them famous in
he did. 4-hour work week or 4-hour body. But anyway, we interviewed the guys who brought them to Australia, and we ended up calling one of their mates who used kettlebells, and he was in LA. So that was the first time we'd kind of used the radio studio to actually call out. The guy didn't answer from memory, which kind of failed dismally anyway. But there was something about, I think back then, looking at it, there was something special about actually having some face-to-face contact with our guests.
Yeah,
whereas
definitely.
I don't have that now. I do everything over Skype. But, you get through that. You kind of establish rapport in other ways. But having that face-to-face. And it allowed me to get really cross with you, Luke, during interviews where you would ask a question that I just didn't want to go to or wasn't ready for.
And vice versa.
Never. Well, mate, that's a bit of a wrap on the 200, and we've got so much more to cover. Let's move right on. Now, Lucas.
Timbo.
How you going? Just want to check in on you.
Yeah, I'm good.
You okay?
Settled down.
Sucked in a bit of air?
Easing into it.
Good, mate.
Yeah.
By the end of it, you'll kind of go, this is okay.
I could go another episode, actually.
Yeah, don't get too cocky. Hey, don't attach yourself too much to the brand. Hey, Lukey, you brought to my attention a very, very good book, Contagious.
I think one of the best marketing books I've read of recent times.
That's not a big rap. How many marketing books have you read of recent times?
Not many.
There you go. Right, so of the 3 that you've read in the last year, this is number 1.
Yep.
No, you said it was one of the best books you've ever read.
It is, yeah. Look, I think there's a lot of great, I guess, case studies about virality.
What makes things popular is kind of the premise of the book, huh?
It is. And it certainly plays off the exclusivity concept. And one of the stories which I related to you, Timbo, is about the cheesesteak. The $100 cheesesteak.
That'd be the old Timbo, the 130 kilogram Timbo. What about that story?
I'm trying to remember now.
Righto.
But, essentially, there's a restaurant in the States, and they have a $100 cheesesteak. And people would have thought, well, most people would think, who the hell would pay $100 for cheesesteak? Yeah. But it's become very famous, and now people go there, obviously, for special occasions and order a $100 cheesesteak. Yeah,
and the question is why? Well, why? And how do they get to that point? And I was in Queenstown, New Zealand last week, and oh, goodness me, this shop is a burger shop. I'll tell you the name of the burger shop very shortly. It has lines going around the corner, right? I'm talking, it's not unusual for it to have a line of 100 metres.
Wow.
They sell burgers and they sell chips. Ferg Burgers is the name of it. Ferg with a G. Okay? Yeah. Ferg Burgers. Mate, so I, lined up. In fact, I had people, when I said I was going to Queenstown, people go, there is a burger shop there that you must go to. So how's that? Imagine getting to the point that your business, where people just do that. So the two people who told me couldn't remember the name, but when I get there, I'm being driven from the airport to the hotel. The guy driving me there goes, oh yeah, and here's Queenstown Main Street, and there's the lake, and there's the Remarkables, they're the mountains over there. Oh yeah, and there's the burger shop you got to go to. Like, it's part of the landscape.
And it comes back to word of mouth, which we were talking about before.
So, yeah, exactly. But word of mouth doesn't happen like you got to do something extraordinary to get word of mouth. So I go and line up for a Ferg burger, right? And I'm pretty excited, and I'm in the line, and they come out to the line, the staff, they give you the menus, they take a beer order, like say you want to have a beer or, wine or a mull wine or something while you're waiting. So it's a bit of a party in the line. It's 5 degrees outside. And you're still lining up. You're in pain, right? Yeah. Lining up for this burger that you've not had. Wow. Or many people on the line may have had. They may be repeat purchasers. So the shop's nothing fancy. Just looks like a burger shop. It's nice enough, but it's nothing fancy. Behind the counter, there must be 20 staff, one smashing through the lettuce, individual tasks, right?
Yeah.
I get there. There's nothing special, right? Then I have the burger. It's a big burger. It's a nice burger. It was $16 for the kind of standard Ferg burger, and there's other varieties. You know what? It was okay.
It was just okay.
It was just okay. It wasn't. It was really good burger, but it wasn't. My expectation was like, listeners, I'm pointing to the roof and
almost touching it.
Almost touching it, and it was an okay burger. So it goes, well, how do they do that? And it is. You know what I got to, and I don't know what the book Contagious says, but my theory on why Ferg burger and maybe your Philadelphia steak joint is any good. People want to be part of a community.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Did they say that in the book?
There's certainly an element of that. One of the other stories is about this bar that you to get into this bar you actually have to enter via an old phone booth at the back of this takeaway joint. It's like a secret, and it's invite only.
Yep.
So
curiosity,
that exclusivity,
yeah.
And once again, word of mouth. Have you been to this place? You enter via the telephone.
But that word of mouth thing keeps haunting me, because people say word of mouth is the best marketing they do. But word of mouth is just the result of a phone booth entry to a secret space. So, you know what I mean? It's the phone booth that's actually the big idea.
Yeah.
It's the phone booth leading into this exclusive bar that is worthy of being talked about.
Yeah, it's something different, which people will, once they've been there, they would say, it's really cool, it's different, you enter via a phone booth.
Yeah, and it's word of mouth, actually, because what people will be doing is taking photos of that phone booth, putting it out on Facebook, Twitter, and sharing it that way. So is that kind of...
yeah, definitely, these days, yeah, for sure.
Mate, belonging is a big one on that steak joint and Ferg burgers. The other one I was reflecting on regarding the book Contagious was the first kiss video, right? And that's not about belonging. I think another reason people love to share stuff, or things become popular more to the point, is because they touch a raw emotion. And First Kiss was absolutely primitive. It was people coming together who didn't know each other and kissing for the first time. Let's do it, Luke, and just...
Didn't sign up for that, Tim.
Right, okay.
Didn't sign up for that.
But you know what I mean? Like, I looked at that and gone... I can still remember the first time I watched it. Now, I'm a sucker, but there's 80 million suckers out there who have viewed it. So I go, that just touched me. I remember my first kiss. I look at those people. I can remember the nervousness they had, you know, and so it kind of touched a raw nerve. So again, if you want to make things something popular, create a tribe or community, give people somewhere to belong to, and that's what Ferg Burgers were doing. Maybe you touch a raw nerve like First Kiss did. Then I'm wondering, and maybe you've got some other ones, Lukey, but I'll just keep rattling on until you find me, you tell me to shut up, as per usual. But like, and it's another viral video, so it's not a great example, but Will It Blend?
Yeah.
You know, where Ted goes and bled... Is it Ted? Tom goes and blends everything in his blenders because he believes in them so much. What was that about? Why is that popular? Because it was just so crazy.
Yeah. Oh, that's... And that's in Contagious as well. It's that story. It's interesting. I mean, it also comes back to, once again, if it's video, it comes back to good content. I found this one recently. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the author, but they've essentially put together these 4 to 8 minute snippets around really interesting geography lessons. And like, I'm geographically naive.
Yeah.
And they just this 5-minute video on how the Canadian-American border was created and why some people think it's a straight line, but it's a wonky line. It's got like 3 million views.
So this is... Okay, here's the other example. Who are the guys? The 2 guys from Canada who do the... come on, documentary on SBS every week. Do experiments. They do...
Mythbusters.
Oh, Mythbusters.
Yeah.
So that's an example where they've just taken the kind of... the mundane...
Yeah,
and just disproved myths.
They're kind of actually getting their audience to create the content for them. People write in with a myth and say prove it or disprove it.
Yeah,
and there are a bunch of special effects guys that go and recreate the scenario. And they're actually now, I think they're doing a live show and they're coming to Australia.
They are. They're in Australia. I heard them on radio this morning. I couldn't remember their names. Going beautifully. But it's a good point too, that sometimes you think... I hear a lot of small businesses go, oh, my category or my industry is not that exciting. Yeah. Like, you can find an exciting angle to anything. Yeah. I mean, Mythbusters, you go, well, you could argue that myths aren't that interesting. Like, going and busting myths, that's not interesting. Well, they've made it really interesting.
Yeah, it's because they blow stuff up, Timbo.
Yeah, they do.
That's
correct.
Always fun.
Correct. Hey? Now, Lukey, Contagious is written by... Jonah Berger. You're kidding, eh?
There you go.
Ferg Berger. And it is. I haven't read it, but I did read the review of it, and it does sound like one worth reading.
It's a cracker.
Yeah, it is a cracker.
There's also an audiobook, so if you like me...
love your audiobooks.
Prefer the audiobooks, go and get one.
Yeah. Well, listen to your podcast first and then get an audiobook.
Yes.
Right, team, that is Contagious. Go and have a read. All right, Lucas. Now, my friend, again, this show cannot happen without our second lovely sponsor in Swiftly. Now, Swiftly, an amazing little micro-tasking site.
I think that might be another sponsor I got, yeah.
Wow, there you go. Thank you very much. Small design fixes done fast, $19 US dollars.
Yeah, great service.
How good is that?
Yeah.
What would you get done, Luke, if you needed to say a little small design tweak?
Oh, look, if I wasn't any good on Photoshop or Illustrator, I might get something. Oh, here's a really good example. Facebook ads. There's about at least four different photo sizes for your Facebook ads. I just upload a photo that's high resolution, tell them the dimensions that you need for Facebook, and get that done. And you just offload that, and usually you have it back within an hour or two, Timbo.
Oh, no. Never more than an hour, Luke.
Never more than an hour. There you go.
Often minutes. That's exactly... I use Swiftly every week for the... so I have a guest on the show. I get the guest's logo. I upload both those to Swiftly, the photo of the guest, the logos, the business logo, upload to Swiftly, and then there's 4 different versions I need of that. I need the logo embedded on the photo, and I need 4 different sizes of that for SoundCloud, for Facebook, for the show note, and 2 different versions for the show notes. And that's $19 US in less than an hour. If I was going to take a photo of you today and wanting to share it, I don't know whether I want people seeing you in that grey top, in that grey jumper, because it's a little bit 2012.
Yeah.
So I'd go, I'd change it to
I think I might have been wearing this at episode 80, actually.
I think, you know what? I reckon you were.
Yeah.
You're stirring me up now. But I'd change it to a turquoise.
Yeah.
Or maybe...
And get some airbrushing done while we're there. Get rid of the crow's feet.
I don't think they do chins.
Not that many?
Not that many. So, mate, but anyway, you listeners, upload anything you need tweaking from a design point of view, and for $19 and in less than an hour, they will fix it. So check out Swiftly, that's SWIFTLY.com.
Now, Timbo, at the start, you actually mentioned that you might have another sponsor coming on board. Is that right?
Lucas, exciting news.
Still a bit hush-hush?
I will formally announce the new sponsor next week.
Okay.
They replace Swiftly.
Mm-hmm.
They are part of the Swiftly is a part of their family, but it's a global brand. It's a brand that's been helping small businesses for years now. I'm unbelievably excited to have them on board because it is an absolutely beautiful fit for the listeners. Many listeners will know of them, might not have used them. Others will hear about them for the first time next week and go, OMG, where have they been all my business life?
Yeah, funnily enough, I actually worked for one of the other, I guess, sister businesses to the...
Oh, you did?
I did.
You did?
Worked in the same building with that mob.
We will give it away to a point without saying the brand name this week, Lukey, because we'll formally announce it next week. Suffice to say, imagine if you needed something designed and designers from all around the world responded to your design brief with finished concepts. Now, that right there, Lukey, is marketing GOLD. In my book, anyway.
It is, yeah, design competitions, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a brilliant service, and I think it will be very useful for many small businesses.
I'm pretty excited about that. We will we'll announce it. I will announce it next week. Suffice to say that you have reasons to be excited and exclusive listener offers if you use their service through Small Business Big Marketing that you can't get anywhere else. So
awesome.
$100 of value each time if you use it through Small Business Big Marketing. So look out for that. Lukey, I get a lot of emails of recent months saying, Timbo, I keep seeing you on my Facebook feed. Timbo, you keep appearing on random websites. Now, what am I doing, Luke?
You're doing what's called remarketing, Timbo. You're letting me geek out again.
Oh, you love this. Go on, go for gold, because every small business owner needs to know about this.
Okay, so remarketing is essentially with both Facebook and with Google AdWords. There are some other platforms as well. But you can put a little piece of code on your website that when someone comes and visits your website and then they go and look at, I think one of the example that a friend of ours, Mike Rhodes, has used, they might even go to Oprah Winfrey's website.
Yeah.
Now, Oprah Winfrey has advertising space that is served up by Google. Now, because the person who's been to Small Business Big Marketing goes to Oprah, Google AdWords sees that they have this little cookie or this little bit of code that's been dropped in their browser, and they present your ad to them. So it's a great way of being able to get people back to your site. It's a great way for to remind people about your brand, to engage them more. There's some really, really clever ways how you can use this. For example, if you have an e-commerce, online shop, online store, you can put in a little bit of code into your shopping cart. Now, if someone actually puts something into the shopping cart, but they don't go on and purchase...
Geek alert, geek alert.
You can send them essentially message them with cart abandoned ads, and you might even offer them a discount in those ads on other websites to get them to come back in and purchase.
Right.
So there's pretty cool stuff that you can do.
Now, there is cool stuff, and it is pretty amazing. So you talk that remarketing in regards to Google Ads,
yep.
Right? So that's about putting your own banner ads on other people's websites, and that's that. Then there is the same, you can remarket on Facebook. So people who have been, for example, to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com and then they head off to Facebook, they may well see my mug appear on a little ad on the right-hand side as well. Same principle applies.
Yeah, absolutely the same principle. And this is only something that Facebook has opened up, I think, in the last 3 months. You used to actually have to go via a third party. And once again, that's very powerful. The other thing that you can do with Facebook is called custom audiences. If you have an email list, you can actually upload email addresses into Facebook and then target those people with your ads as well.
How's that?
I think even MailChimp, which is one of the email marketing platforms that I use, will actually dynamically upload an email address to Facebook ads whenever someone new signs up.
Oh, wow.
So
just don't even have to manually kind of carry them across anymore.
That's right. So there's some really exciting stuff in that space.
What do you say? Well, okay, Net Registry can help sort this out. That's one place to go and get this sorted. Because what you're explaining, this stuff rolls off the tongue. I always think when I'm talking about podcasting, explain to someone how I podcast, which is not that complicated, but I know it rolls off the tongue so beautifully simple, and people go, well, it's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
What you just explained then, I mean, every small business should be doing, but it can be quite complicated. Where do they start? What is the first thing they should do?
Look, it depends how, I guess, if they want to be hands-on, sure. JohnLoomer.com, he's a great resource. I think I
did a webinar with him inside the forum.
Yep. I think one of the best places to start is, first of all, make sure you've got a Facebook page.
Yep.
And Facebook does make it fairly easy to get an ad up.
They sure do. It's drop-down menu type stuff.
It is. So you can dip your toes in that way. Otherwise, go out and find someone to do it for you. Particularly, I think Facebook can be a lot more high maintenance to maintain than AdWords, because you want to keep... Well, particularly because Facebook, you're using images, and you want to keep those images fresh, and you want to keep them rolling over. So it's something, your Facebook ads, if you've got an ad out there, I'd suggest you be updating it probably at least every couple of weeks.
Yeah. So I think there's two things there. One is, listeners, if you haven't done this remarketing stuff, I'm going to go through a checklist here because I know we love checklists, Lukey. Number one, get the remarketing code onto your website. And you're going to have to talk to your developer, your web developer or designer. Should be able to do that.
If you do nothing else, do that, because it will start building this remarketing list for you behind the scenes, and you can start going out to that list whenever you like. Yep. Okay,
so that's underway. In the background, all of a sudden, you will be cookieing everyone who goes to your website. Then at some point, you might want to go, I'm going to start using that. Yep. So then you can start I'll let you take over at this point.
Then you can just do a generic message. Look, it's going to depend on the website that you have. You know, if you like Timbo and you've basically got a service-based business, then you want to be, developing your brand, getting people back to your website.
Yep.
If you're doing if you've got an e-commerce site, then it can get as complicated or as simple as you like.
We don't like complication, Luke.
But I would be, if you're selling, a consumable product, then it can't hurt to be going out, to that list regularly. There's also some things you can do. You can actually wait a number of days. So if someone's hit your website, you can actually wait. I think it might be up to 90 days before you actually start messaging them.
Right. Now, the other thing too, there is heaps of... Yeah, I know, you're just about to see you going, we've lost Luke. Back, Luke.
Oh, that's rolling back of my head.
So there's the setup. Now, the setup, a little bit geeky, but again, your web person, go to Net Registry, they can sort you out. You'll find people on Elance who will be able to do this for you as well. But the magic, I reckon, and we've had this discussion off air, is in getting your message right, getting what you say right. You know, those... What have you got? So in a Facebook ad, you've got how many characters?
I can't remember now off the top of my head. It's particularly in the title. It's not many.
70 in the title, or
yeah. Look, it depends if you're doing a right-hand side ad or a newsfeed ad. I tend to.
It's not a lot. Newsfeed. You've got an amount of characters for the headline. You've got an amount of characters for the byline that appears under the headline.
Yep.
And then you've got to choose a link where people go to, and you've got to choose an image.
Yeah, and you can now choose a call to action.
Yes, as in call or visit. Or subscribe.
Learn more by now.
So these are the ones where you've got to test and just retest and split test and see what works and what doesn't. But there is magic in getting your message right.
And Facebook is not dissimilar to AdWords. You can set up 2 or 3 ads to start with. And usually I just start by testing different images. Keep the same copy. Test some different images. Find out which one performs the best and then start changing your copy.
And Luke... Attractive women do work in images. Now that sounds completely. What's the word? What's the word when blokes? No, not at all.
Sexist,
not at all.
No.
Sexist. But that you've proved that time and time again. It doesn't mean like sexy images, but just...
Yeah, look, I shared an example with you over email earlier today. And yeah, look, for the right demographic, this particular demographic that Timbo's talking about was golf lovers, males over the age of 25, and a bit of a no-brainer there.
Attractive girl playing golf
tends to work.
Well, we had an episode recently with a couple of ladies who started Frank Body Scrub about sex sells. That doesn't mean you don't have to have sexy images, but it just seems to work that when choosing an image, there is a kind of art, a skill to choosing the right image for Facebook ads, for Google AdWords. Look,
an attractive male or female at a bar, they get attention.
Oh, Lukey, love your work. Now, I want to talk about owning a niche, all right?
Yep.
Let me tell you this story. This morning, I had a bloke come to my home. The dashboard on my car started to peel, right? It was really unattractive, and I was falling out of love with it. It was really quite sad. The leather on the dash was peeling off. It was splitting, and it was exposing the yellow foam behind it. I mean, it was just... I couldn't sell the car like that, and I just kind of got sad every time I looked at it while I was driving. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Finally found this guy who...
This isn't a metaphor for something else?
I don't know, but
good. Okay.
If it is, let me know.
Plastic suit? No.
Yeah, correct. So... I get the hold of this guy. He's got a great business that he repairs dashes. He said, if you're going to get it replaced, $5,000 to replace the dash. Not going to be doing that, puppy. But he was able to fix it for $300, right? And it looks, you've seen it. It looks tickety-boo.
Yeah.
So, anyway, he gets talking to me about niches. He's in a niche, but he had a funny story. I've got to tell you this story before I tell you about the power of a niche. His previous job, he'd fixed the dash on a Ferrari, right? High heel marks in the dash of the Ferrari. And I go, oh, the bloke who owns the Ferrari is a bit of a playboy. He goes, it wasn't that. He went away for the weekend, and his girlfriend had her girlfriend over in the Ferrari. Are you with me yet, Luke?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they enjoyed the Ferrari and accidentally put one of their high heels through the dashboard and had to repair it. Anyway, I digress. One of the things we got talking about, for 14 years, he's been fixing dashboards, and he goes, what do you think about niche marketing? And I said, mate, you've been busy for 14 years? He goes, I've been flat out. And I just think there's so much power in that. I know that he's the dashboard guy. You got a problem with your dashboard, he'll fix it.
Yeah.
And yet I said, what else do you do? He goes, I could do, upholstery on the seats, and I can do the outside external trims of the car. It's like, mate, well, maybe if the opportunity arises, you do that. But you've had 14 years where you've been full on fixing dashboards. So I do love a niche, Luke.
He could charge a bit more too.
He probably could. Hope he's not listening.
Yeah. What's his business name?
Yeah, exactly. You love a niche?
I love a niche, and I suppose I kind of just shared an example there where a particular project I'm working on involves golf, and that's an amazing niche. And when you can figure out your target audience fairly specifically, then I guess putting your message in front of them these days is remarkably easy.
Well, I think there's power in niche. I know there's a lot of listeners who are still working for the man, and they're thinking of starting a business, and should they go broad? Should they be specific? You're the same. You're starting a new business now. We were talking earlier. You're going to start a business that, potentially could be, and you introduced yourself earlier as an online marketing guy. It's so broad. It's like, really?
Yeah.
What do I use you for? Whereas what you're really good at is, and you correct me in terms of if I get the phrasing wrong, but it's like in mobile advertising.
Yeah, look, I've certainly in recent times had a lot of experience with mobile. I suppose, more broadly, e-commerce. I guess I've been an e-commerce specialist now for a couple of years. But I really think the opportunity is in mobile, because I still don't think that people have realised the power of being in everyone's pocket.
Right. So why wouldn't you? There's your niche. I just think there's so much power, and you go, I'm limiting myself in terms of who I'm going to appeal to. But the ones that you do appeal to will find you incredibly attractive. They'll want exactly what it is you've got, and they'll know exactly what it is you have to offer them, because you're so specific in terms of your offering. So, I love a niche, Lukey.
It's a good point, mate.
Love the Ferrari story too. Alrighty, listeners, I reckon, Lukey, we have just hit the over the hour mark. It's been lovely to have you back.
It's been a pleasure, Timbo.
In the studio, in the Small Business Big Marketing headquarters. Have you liked it?
I've really enjoyed it.
Did it bring back any feelings of love or lack of love?
Oh, look, of course, mate. Of course.
Yeah, what?
Oh, look, I certainly for me, it's been easier than what I thought it would after I guess 120 episodes. I think we seem to bounce off each other pretty well.
That's how we roll, mate.
Yeah,
that's how we roll. But it is good to be back. We'll get you back. I don't know, episode 500 or something. You'll have something more to say.
500? Jeez.
Yeah. Now, listeners, that is about it. Upcoming episodes. Check this out. Funny business. Griffo is going to be in the studio next week, or in the monkey cage with me next week. Have got that guy, Freezer Burns fellow, who makes a living out of reviewing frozen foods. Got some travel bloggers who are living the dream. I have got a psychiatrist, or a psychologist, I should say, who is nailing some old school marketing in terms of managing referrals and getting referrals. And he started a business and filled his book up very, very quickly within like 2 or 3 months. In terms of bookings. If you've got any guest ideas for upcoming shows, head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com and click on the contact button. There's a little field there, a little opportunity there where you can email me your guest suggestions. Remember, Net Registry are there to get your online marketing sorted. Swiftly are there to get any small design fixes done real fast. I would love to see any of you inside the Small Business Big Marketing Forum. I'm in there every day answering your marketing questions along with a whole lot of other motivated small business owners. But I am not going to have the last word. I'm going to leave that to Lukey and walk out of the room. No, I'm not going to do that. But we'll have a virtual hug, a high five. High five.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Timbo. And listeners, thank you for having me in your ears.
Oh, is that all you've got?
That's all I've got.
Really?
Yeah.
Nothing more kind of,
profound.
Nothing.
Nah, that's it.
See you, team.
See you guys.
You've been listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show with Tim Reid. Want more marketing goodness? Then visit smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.